Here, we're still connecting a little bit of the internet. Let's see. Good morning, everyone. I'm just trying to. Oh, here we go. Turn on the camera. There we are. There we are. Good morning. Good morning. I hope you had a great week. Welcome to session 2. What the world needs now is you. My name is Imani, and I am an empowerment coach as well as a divine mission mentor. I'm on a mission to help women, 1,000 women, to step into their power so that they can prosper from their purpose and passion. And so I hope that is you, and that is why you're on this call and the many calls that I will be having until the end of this year. I want us to be able to step into a new year with the knowledge that we are actually capable of fulfilling our deepest desires. If you were on the call last week, you would have learned a little bit about the quantum field, this space where our imagination and ideas exist. We talked about accessing this space in our thoughts so that we can begin to make those dreams and ideas a reality. One of the important tools or powers that we need to use in order to do that is creating a vision and using our imagination to energize or activate that vision. So if you haven't done so already, I would encourage you to start writing down what are those ideas you have that light you up and inspire you, that keep coming to your mind over and over again. What brings you joy? And really start to hone in and decide what's a vision that you want to make reality for you in your life. And so today, we're going to talk about aligning with your highest good. Some of you may have heard about the law of attraction or concepts about manifestation or manifesting. We will create a vision board or maybe write out a list of all the things we want in a mate or a house that we like, a car that we want. And we apply this idea of giving it our attention. Well, in order to make sure that your intention with what you desire and whatever is written on that vision board or whatever is written on that list, in order for it to become a reality, we need to take action. And so often, if we have limiting beliefs, we may not take action that will lead us to really bring those dreams into reality. So for today, we're going to talk about what is holding you back from really engaging and creating the vision that you have. So last week's step, the importance of last week's classes was for you to, one, start creating that vision. And if you're a client of mine or if we've worked together, you'll know that I really stress the importance of creating a vision. Your vision is the roadmap. And now your next step is to get in alignment with that vision. And when you feel negative experiences like a low vibration, like shame, guilt, doubt, or fear, all of these low vibrations can prevent you from really calling in your vision and the guidance or the resources needed to make that vision a reality. So one of the important lessons we're going to talk about and learn today is about 6 different stories that we are telling ourselves, limiting beliefs that are preventing us from really stepping into our vision or even believing that our vision is actually possible. So, as we wait for a few more people to come into the session, I'm going to give you about 5 minutes. No, let's make it 2 minutes so that you can get a pen and a paper, maybe some water because we're here for 90 minutes. And I want you to get comfortable because I really want you to understand the concepts that are going to be taught in today's session. And just so that I can make sure you're hearing me and that everything, that everything is good, that the chat is operating, I want you to write in the chat when you're ready. Okay, so I am ready. So when you have your pen, you have your paper, whatever you're going to write in, your journal, and you have your tea, your water, whatever it is you need to get comfortable and really start to think about what I'm going to be teaching you today. And let's really engage today. And I wish we could actually have some video chats together. We're going to look into that for our sessions when you come on board with one of my coaching programs, and some of you have, so I'm excited to see you on the call today. When we get into our calls, you're going to be on camera with me. But for today, it's just a learning lesson. I want you to take up as much information as you can and be prepared for this content, with this content and the knowledge of this content as we start in November 7th for Radiance program. So go get your water, your pen, whatever you're going to be using today to write the notes. And when you're ready, please write in the chat, I am ready. I'm going to get my water as well. Where did I put that? Oh, here we go. And I'll give you a few minutes. Sorry about the brightness. I know there's a lot of white behind me and a lot of light. So, because I'm going to be using the whiteboard today. Let's just see if you can see what's on the board. 6 codes. 6 codes. Okay. And as I said, remember to just write in the chat when you're ready. All right. The event feed. I'm still not seeing that you're ready in the chat, but I am going to give you one more minute. I hope you hear me. Oh, okay. All right, ready. I got one ready. Okay, so I adjusted the light a little bit so it's not reflecting too much. And I want to make sure that you can see what's on the board as well. So, can you see what's written on the board here? We're gonna go 1, 2, 3. Yep. We'll start with 3 first. I'm gonna be erasing. Oh, you know what? Okay, so I hope you can see what's on the board. I can't see it as clear as I would like. I'm thinking it's pretty bright. Yes, okay, perfect. Good stuff. All right. So, all right. So, last week we talked about how our thoughts and our feelings create the state of being that we are radiating as a signal to the universe. Now, why is this a thing? How is this possible? How are we a signal or a tower broadcasting our thoughts and our feelings out into the universe? Everything is a molecule and light and absence of light. So everything that we are looking at and feeling is really a particle that's popping in and out of existence. So moment by moment, what is popping in and out of existence is matching what's going on within us. And this is why things change. As we change, things in our life actually change. And so I shared with you the importance of making sure your thoughts and your feelings are in alignment with what you want to create. Now, if you know and you have your attention and your mind on what it is you want to create, your feelings will let you know when you're out of alignment. As a matter of fact, even if your vision isn't in the forefront of your mind, when your feelings are feeling low and negative, you are out of alignment with what is available to you. You are out of alignment with what you truly desire and deserve. So pay attention to those feelings because they're a signal. We've been taught to respond or react to those feelings as if something outside of us has created that negative feeling. We look at an event or something that has occurred, and because we feel bad about it, sad about it, we think it's the event that has caused us to feel this way. But really, it is our thoughts about that event that cause us to feel this way. So, for example, our family is dealing with the death of a baby right now, and it's heartbreaking. And the sadness and the grief is very real. The grief will be lightened when our thoughts become more aligned with the idea that the baby has gone on to God, that he's in a better place now. So in the meantime, while we grieve the loss of the baby, our sadness is absolutely going to be heavy and burdensome. But the more that time goes by that we can remember the baby in a beautiful way and just be grateful for the blessing that he was in this short time, those thoughts ease the feeling of sadness and grief. It's not that it takes it away, but definitely the thoughts that we focus on are going to create the feeling that we have within the body. And so right now, immense feelings of love are pouring out to soothe this sadness that comes with the event that has just occurred. But over time, as our thoughts begin to change about this scenario, the grief can be eased. And it's not that it's always, that it's going to disappear completely, because these are not thoughts that we are able to let go of. We are conditioned to believe that once you leave the body, that's it. It's the end of story. But in some religions and in some mindsets, the spirit comes back. So that person is not going to feel as much grief knowing that that soul or that spirit of the baby will come back and live again or be home with God. And it's those types of thoughts that ease, again, that sense of grief and sadness. In fact, it's more joyful to think in that way. Now, this is not to encourage you to invalidate, this is no invalidation of what you feel, because our feelings are okay. Whatever we feel, whether we feel shame, grief, sadness, fear, or anger, those feelings are symbols. They are signals and pointing you as a guidepost to what is true. And so when you can feel at peace with loss and grief, that is when you're more in alignment with the truth of being okay when we lose someone. And now, of course, this event has just occurred, so it's not easy to get into that frame of mind. And again, I used a very challenging example, but something on a lighter note is to be, like for example, so it's not as heavy. Another example would be if you don't win first place. If you don't win first place in a race, some people, their mind is going to be super excited to just try again. Others may say, I'm not going to do this. I can't do this, and give up. And that doesn't feel good to them. So the reality is, if they keep practicing, they do have a chance. They do have an opportunity to actually win the race. But if they give up before they have the chance to bring it into reality, then that negative feeling, that feeling of sadness, that feeling of doubt is a sign that they're not really thinking or believing the truth of what is possible, Now, remember, in the quantum field, in the unknown, this etheric place, everything is possible. And our thoughts, what we choose to focus on and what we choose to bring out of that field of infinite possibilities, is what we put our attention on and what we put our intention in, and begins to grow within our lives. So as we begin to focus on our vision, it's so important for us to recognize, where are our thoughts limiting us? Okay. And so as a soul comes into a body, we often come to the planet with a creation story woven into our life experiences. And it looks a lot like this. Okay. So we come into life, and from 0 to 5, 0 to 7, we start creating these limiting beliefs. And it's usually our family dynamic, our environment, whatever environment we're raised in, and whatever beliefs our family has, our parents have, our siblings, whatever we experience when we're out in the world, tends to create this limiting belief. And it starts off with, I must not be ... So we start to think now, I cannot see that. So please write no in the chat if you cannot see that color. I must not be. And then we're going to fill in the blanks. Okay? So I want you to, as I share these 6 limiting beliefs, I want you to start thinking about what shows up for you as true. Okay? Which one are you struggling with the most? Of course, we're probably going to have more than one, but what we're going to focus on going forward is identifying which one is the one that you think is prominent and dominant in your life. So the first limiting belief or code that's encoded in our being after we've been nurtured and conditioned by the circumstances in our environment that we've grown up in, we tend to believe, I must not be good enough. I must not be good enough. This tends to be a limiting belief that impacts how you see yourself, how you value yourself, and what you think you are capable of giving or serving to the rest of the world and the people around you. Okay? This I'm not good enough tends to impact your confidence, right? You're scared that you will not be seen as good enough, so you may step back and not be seen, not take a leadership role. Okay, I'm not good enough. So oftentimes we suppress our talents and our gifts because we feel like it's not good enough. Okay, so or our opinions may not be good enough. We may not speak up because it doesn't seem to be a match with the environment. So, for example, if we grew up in a family of successful people who are professional doctors and lawyers, and then when we are growing up, we do not see ourselves as valuable because that's not our area of interest, or not where we don't want to put our life. We don't want to become a doctor or a lawyer. We want to be an artist. Right? So I'm not good enough tends to be one of those codes that we use as a limiting a belief. Okay. The second one is I'm not worthy enough. I must not be worthy enough. This has a lot to do with our self worth. Our self worth. That the difference between being good enough and worthy enough. Worthy enough means you don't feel you deserve it, that you have not done enough to deserve the attention or a reward or recognition. And so maybe again, you feel like this can show up in the ego, where again you're scared to be seen. You're scared to step into a role because you don't feel you really actually deserve it, right? Okay. Another code or limiting belief that we tend to be conditioned to believe is that we're not powerful enough. I must not be powerful enough to create change. This is a huge one. It's really relevant right now because when you feel like you are not powerful enough, you tend to show up as a victim in life, powerless in life, where you can't change anything because you grew up poor, or you can't change anything because you're a woman or a person of color, or I can't change anything because you don't feel like you're powerful enough to impact or create change. And so this is another limiting belief that sometimes prevents us from taking action on a dream or a vision that we have for our lives. Being powerful enough um, is an illusion, right? So all of these limiting beliefs are not true. So I want you to keep that in mind, and we'll talk more about that after we get on to the next one, which is, I want to make sure you've seen them all. Number 4, I am not safe enough. I'm not safe enough. This tends to show up as someone who's maybe spiritual or religious, that they may not feel like they belong in the world as it runs right now. So, for example, if you are 7-day Adventist, or you have a very, or even grown up in an Amish environment, there is a certain limitation of protection. There's self-protection that we kind of put it around ourselves, or our family puts around us, where we're living sheltered and we don't feel safe enough to participate in anything other than the religious doctrines that we've been trained to be in. Or, for example, if you're a spiritual person who doesn't even really want to engage in things difficult. For example, when the Buddha monk is sitting and meditating in a hill in a beautiful garden surrounded by quiet and peace, it's really easy to keep peaceful in that circumstance. But the power of being able to meditate and stay in a state of peace needs to be applied when things are hectic around you. And so you may not feel safe if you are sheltered and expecting things to always be in a state of peace, where you can choose to always be in a state of peace, even in a hectic or chaotic environment. And that's going to be really important coming forward, as we continue to go forward in the planet on Earth, because since COVID started, like the last 2 years have been really, really challenging and difficult for people, um, you know, especially when the media has made everyone fear for just being outside, right? And engaging with each other. So if you're not in a state of certainty about your safety, then not feeling safe enough can be a limiting belief for you as well. So, for example, um, my when I moved to New York City and I was there at 19, and my mother was always like, "Don't go out after 11. Don't go on the subway train. Be careful. Be careful. Always look at your surroundings." These are all normal things that a mother might say, but I felt safe enough to be in these spaces because I trust that I will either be able to protect myself, and I was able to, go to the studio and work on music at 11 o'clock at night on the subway train because I did feel safe enough. So this one here is not really a limiting belief for myself. But again, everyone can take a look in this session. I want you to just identify which one of these right now is resonating for you. And I want you to just think about that, because I'm going to have you write down which one you want to work on in the chat. Okay, so number 5 is competent enough. I don't feel competent. Competent. Spelling. Okay. All right. Competent enough. I don't know if I have the skills. This is often you're not feeling smart enough. You're not skilled enough. You're not feeling like you have everything you need to step into a role. Now, if your vision is to run your own business, maybe you think at this point you don't have enough information. Maybe you want to write a book and you're feeling like, I'm not competent enough to do this because I don't have great spelling, right? So if this is one of your limiting beliefs, there's all kinds of ways you can still step into your vision as a writer. For example, one of my clients who does not write well, she just put her ideas out on the paper, hired an editor who was able to rewrite things and really capture the ideas that she needed. Another person I know doesn't feel competent enough to well, I can't remember what it was now. Just when you're not feeling competent enough, there are ways that you can tap into people who know what they're doing. So, for example, if you're an entrepreneur and you want to go online, my client is not familiar with how to create a website, how to use social media in an effective way to promote her business, but she can hire people to do that. And it doesn't have to stop her from completing her vision or engaging and creating her vision as a reality, because feeling like she's not competent enough. All she needs to do is be competent in the service that she brings as a dance instructor and hire or delegate. She doesn't have to do everything on her own. And sometimes, of course, as entrepreneurs, we do start out doing everything we possibly can. Like I do my own websites and I do my own promoting, and it's not my strongest suit. It can be, but it takes a long time. And I'd like to stay in my genius zone. So when you're not feeling competent enough, maybe you need to take some extra courses. Maybe you need to delegate to someone else who is. And there are ways around this limiting belief. And so when you feel that you're not competent enough, I want you to recognize that that is not true. Again, that's an illusion. And if we can expand our mind and overcome these limiting beliefs, we can truly align and activate and step into our vision that we have. So whatever vision you are deciding on, dream big. Don't worry about if you don't feel ready, if you're not safe enough, powerful enough, or competent enough. We are definitely going to help you. As a coach, I can help you overcome these limiting beliefs. And I want you to be on a mission to overcome those limiting beliefs as well. Okay, so how long have we been going now? 30 minutes. All right, the last limiting belief that we either come into the world with already being prepared as a soul to overcome. This is our mission. This is our life mission, right? And as soon as you can overcome this limiting belief, it's like the doors open up. It's like you're in alignment with what it is you truly want. And so I remember reading this book and imagined, the author was Laura Day, and it was called Life Purpose. And she introduced this concept that we as a soul, before we come into our body, we decide our parents. We decide the family that we're going to be born in based on the circumstances that we foresee and how they will impact the mission that we have. So remember, I'm a divine mission mentor, right? So understanding these concepts as to what is my life purpose. Before I came to the planet, you came for a mission. And in order to learn what you needed to learn, to be your best self, you had to face obstacles and challenges. So if you came to the planet, you may end up in a family that fought a lot or that was dysfunctional. You may end up in a family that had an absentee parent. You may have come up in a family that had a lot of wealth so that it could make it easier for you and you would have other challenges. And then you may have also been born into a family that was poor. And this also serves to help you learn the lessons you needed to learn so that you could become the person that lived their divine mission. And so that was such a powerful read for me when I read that over 20 years ago. And it's just a valuable perspective. If you can step back at a situation and say, if I created this, why would I create this situation? What can I learn from it that will make me stronger? I posted in one of my groups the picture of God's plan for us and our plan for us. And in our mind, we may think it's supposed to, I decide this is the plan and it goes perfectly. But of course, there's going to be hills and valleys that we need to cross because it strengthens us and it helps us to become our best self so that we can become the person that is who we desire to be. Okay? So finally, let's go into this last limiting belief that may be one I struggle with. And that is, I must not be perfect enough. I must not be perfect enough. So I hope you're writing that down. I must not be perfect enough tends to show up when we are judging ourselves. And this often happens when we are judging ourselves. We are also judging others. Okay? So in this mode, if we are struggling with this limiting belief, it may show up as we don't finish things. Sometimes we don't even start things, okay? Because we won't do it unless we feel we are the best, okay? So we shut down, we close down, we don't necessarily show up because we're not feeling like we're the best, so we shouldn't do it. And one thing I've learned is right now, of course, the coaching that I'm doing right now, this is not the best it's, everything doesn't run perfectly smooth. I don't have lights, camera, action happening. The makeup's not done. The outfit's not perfect, but I'm doing it anyway. So as I navigate this limiting belief, I had to learn, okay, just give the gift, just serve, and it'll get better. It'll get better. And so for me, that's one of the areas that I know I need to work on. So, as you look at these limiting beliefs, I want you to think about which one stands out for you? Which one stands out as an issue that keeps showing up in your life? And the sooner we can really identify, what is this limiting belief? How is it holding me back from my vision? I want you to be able to recognize, if we don't tackle these limiting beliefs, these issues, the issues that these create in your life will start to show up in your tissues. Yes, your body. It'll start to show up as a pain or discomfort until you deal with these limiting beliefs, because these limiting beliefs are illusions. They are not the truth. They are intended to help you overcome so that you can become the true, divine, beautiful being that is you at the very core of you. So I want to give you a few minutes to type in the chat box which one, and if there's more than one, we'll talk about that. But which one of these 6 limiting beliefs or stories, creation stories, is kind of wrapped up in all that you're doing, or wrapped up and in preventing you from diving in to your vision. Okay. I have two. Not good enough and not safe enough. Okay. Not good enough and not safe enough. All right. And so, we decide these things from an early age. And so, when you think about your life as a child, what are some of the experiences that have shaped actually all of them, yeah. I want you to think about what experiences have shaped your limiting belief around not being good enough. You know, did your parents always criticize you? Did they always make you repeat, do things over and over again until it was perfect? Or not feeling safe enough? Did you grow up in an environment where there's 3 locks on your door? Did you grow up in an environment where there was a lot of violence around you, so you're not feeling safe enough? Or your beliefs were not the same as your family, so you didn't feel comfortable being who you are? And I think that, okay, so yes, I see that. You have to not being good enough. Your father never thought you could make it. And so when you think about these moments in your life as a child where your surroundings, and it's usually our parents and our siblings, because those are people that are closest to us, and we have such a desire to belong in a family unit, and we have a desire to be loved, that oftentimes what they say shapes how we feel about ourselves. So absolutely, I can see that if your parent tells you all the time you cannot make it, right? You start to believe it as a child. And so if you take the time to really think about, how true is that? How true is that for you? And if this, as you take a look at where as a child these beliefs started to really anchor in all of your choices growing up as an adult, it becomes easier for you to let them go and release them, and to start using your thoughts in your mind through affirmations is one way to really start to see and think differently about these limiting beliefs, and to release them and let them go. Okay? Let's see if there's any other comments. I'm going to go back to the chat room here. Anybody have a question at all about this? You can raise your hand. There's also a raised hands option here, and question and answer section too. So any questions, you can either raise your hand and also use the question and answer box. So yes. And so in an abusive home too, I can tell you, yeah, absolutely. So Not feeling safe enough can also be emerge from that fear that's created in a home environment, especially when it's coming, the fear is triggered by things that your parents say, For me, I remember, it's interesting because as a kid, I know for me as a child, our parents spanked us. So, a slipper coming at you when you're in trouble as a kid. Now, when I look back, it's it's something easy to laugh at, but as a kid it's like, oh my gosh, you don't want that to happen, so you're afraid to act a certain way, right? You're afraid to be your authentic self, and this is where these limiting beliefs are preventing us from being our true selves, from really choosing a path that is in alignment with what we truly want. Okay, so any questions? So why have I shared these limiting beliefs? When you identify these limiting beliefs, you are now aware and can consciously choose to think different. So when your fear comes up, questioning your value if you're not good enough, questioning if you belong, right? When you don't feel safe enough, questioning you, like these, anytime these experience, what was it, not good enough? Yeah. So these thoughts and this inner voice will sometimes come and talk to us, right? Like I know I can hear my mother's voice, right? You should do this, you should do that. Like I can tell when it's not really my true and authentic voice, or I can tell when I'm thinking from a place of fear. And you can tell too, because this is where your feelings show up. So when your feelings come up of doubt and uncertainty and fear, you want to check to see what limiting belief is showing up. What limiting belief is actually showing up? And then you can reassess and recognize it's an illusion. It's not true. Because you are completely whole. You are whole and you are already divinely perfect. Because your choices, your decisions, when they come from your heart, they're in alignment with what is possible for you. And when you can anchor this truth into your everyday decision, even if it looks like on the outside that things are falling apart, it is often because it is meant to help you become your highest self, to become in alignment with your highest good. I remember when I was working at a job because I was pregnant. And I was afraid that if I didn't have this job, I wouldn't be able to take care of my children. But I took all kinds of inappropriate behavior um, that was, it was sexual harassment coming from the boss of the company, and my fear of not being able to take care of my children, my one child at the time, made me decide to stay in a business and stay in a company and stay in a job that was not serving me and my highest good. And I stayed and I stayed and I stayed until an incident happened that was too, that violated me so much that there was just no possible way I could stay. And when I made the complaint to my supervisor, my boss came and gave me 2 weeks notice. Was going to fire me. And I was like, I'm not staying. It was 2 weeks notice. And I was like, no, I'm not even coming back. I wasn't even going to give him any more of my time and my work, my energy, none. And so I left and resigned that same day. And it led me to go on to better things. And so being fired on the outset, like, when you look at this occurrence, at this event, it may feel like the worst thing that ever happened to you when it happens. But the reality is, I was making a choice based on a limiting belief, of fear, of not being safe enough, of not being able to be powerful enough, until I did take that stance and did no longer act as a victim, right, in that circumstance. And so when we operate from a limiting belief, we are not in alignment with our highest good. And so as you take a look and consider these limiting beliefs, and when you identify the one that seems to be the most dominant in your life, I want you to take some time to really challenge it. How true is it? What what perspective can you shift that brings you to the realization it's not true, that you are safe, that you are good enough, that you are worthy, you are powerful, you are competent, and you're perfect as you are. You don't need to be anything more or anything more than where you are right now. And if you need to become more, life will hand you challenges to make sure that you do become more and in alignment with what it is that you truly need to be. Okay? So I'm going to check to see if there's any specific questions that you may have about what I was talking about today in terms of these 6 codes, these limiting beliefs. Okay. So the most important part of aligning with your highest good is expecting it. Becoming a match with what you say you want for yourself. Becoming a vibrational match with the vision that you have. So, what does that mean? On my vision, I want to create a successful coaching and health practice. I want to have a lot of clients. I want to have, as I said in the beginning, 1,000 women that I touch and impact and help them to be empowered to step into their divine mission. That's my goal for next year. 1,000 women who have worked with me and that I've been able to help them see the worth that's within them, the value that's within them, that they are perfect, that they are competent. All of these 6 things. These are the gifts that we are capable of living as. So when we limit ourselves, we are not in alignment. But when you recognize that you are good enough, that you're worthy enough, that you are powerful enough, safe enough, competent enough, and perfect exactly as you are for the thing that you desire, then you're going to be aligning with your vision. So, for example, to claim to be an author, that's what you want to be, you need to write. You want to be in alignment with that vision. If you want to be a loving partner and have a healthy relationship, you need to be the person who acts like that, right? What does it look like to you? What does it feel like to you? As you align those thoughts and your feelings, you can start to embody and radiate so that you can become a match. So remember that from the first class. So if your vision is to be an author, okay, but you don't feel like you're good enough, that takes you out of alignment. That thought of not feeling good enough will block you from being a successful author, right? If you want to be in a healthy relationship and you don't feel that you are perfect enough for the person, you need to see yourself as you are, and then you'll find the perfect person for you, right? So being in alignment with your vision or your highest good right? Your highest good. Now, I don't remember if I mentioned this last week, but when I say I want you to reach your highest potential, coaching you to understand what it means to reach your highest potential means you need to understand what is going on in that field of infinite possibilities. You need to choose what you want from the field of infinite possibilities. That infinite possibilities is potential. Potential is what is possible. Okay? So when you align with your highest good, or you're becoming your highest potential, this means you are tapping into your imagination, that you are giving attention and energy to your vision. This practice allows you to align with your highest potential, align with your highest good. So, your vision needs to be created. It's the map. Okay? It tells you when you're in alignment or out of alignment with your vision. Your feelings will feel like these limiting beliefs. Your feelings will feel like doubt, shame, all the low vibrations when you're not a match with your vision, with your possibility, with your potential that you've chosen through this map of your vision. So I always begin, and we can't go or grow if you don't have an actual vision. What is it that you want? Then check if you believe you can actually have it. Okay, so there's the two things. You need to be a match with having it. So recognize what limiting beliefs are preventing you from actually bringing your vision into reality. All right. And so I have a time check here. We've got about 8 more minutes left in the session for an hour, and then we're going to move into full question and answer period. So if you have any questions, I know we're a lot faster today. I'm just going to check. Are there any questions? I'm going to erase the board soon. All right. So what happens is in the next 10 minutes, we're going to shift to the question and answer period. I believe that this window is going to close and then we'll open up again. So when you take a look at these 6 limiting beliefs, okay, I must not be good enough. I must not be worthy. I must not be powerful. I must not be safe enough. I must not be competent. I must not be perfect. I want you to see where these limiting beliefs may show up when you are pursuing your vision. So, for example, if your vision says you want to become a successful business owner, you want to take a look at all of the details, write it all down. What does it look like to be a successful business owner, right? For me, it's important that there's a balance between my time and the time I get to be as a mother. So if my business requires all my time, that's not successful for me, right? A successful business for me is being able to help and serve women in a powerful way, an extremely deeply powerful way, and also have enough time to mother my children and also make enough money to be sustained. So there's a lot of factors that are going to help me design this vision. And then I can notice when I'm out of alignment with that vision, right? So if I'm not doing any business activities, then how am I actually being a successful business person, right? And these limiting beliefs may show up for me like, am I good enough? Is this perfect enough? For me, that's one of the big ones there. Is it perfect enough? Because I want it to be beautiful and shiny and all of those wonderful things. But as I challenge that limiting belief, as I said before, I just go with the content because I do know that what I have to share and how I can impact your lives, is a very powerful, in a very powerful way. So for me, I'm going to keep working on, is it perfect enough? And I'm going to keep practicing so it becomes more in alignment with what I want it to be. And it's okay not to be where you are setting yourself out to be. Like, it's okay not to be fully in your vision right now. Like, the vision is a journey. It's not a destination. It's not some place you get to be. It's someone you get to be. So keep that in mind when you are creating the vision. The vision on that piece of paper that you've written down requires you to be someone else. It requires you to shift within. You cannot be the same person that doesn't have that vision accomplished. So one thing that I always say all the time is to live from your vision fulfilled. Okay? So if I'm going to be an author and I'm not writing, I'm not being an author. I'm not being the things required to be an author, right? So as soon as I start writing, that is one step from being, of being an author. You've got to write. And so when I'm out of alignment with my vision, I'm not writing if I want to be an author, right? If I'm in alignment, I'm actually writing. I am being who I need to be. And so if this is a new vision for you and you have never written anything before, right? That person who doesn't write is not the author, right? So that's just one example of where we need to start being our vision and start living as if our vision was fulfilled. Another example would be if I want to build a better relationship with my children in terms of being a mother, be more patient with them. Every time I yell at them, every time I lose my patience, I'm out of alignment with the vision I have for myself. The more I can engage in being patient and consciously choose and intentionally choose to be patient with my children, the more I'm in alignment with my vision. And actually, the more that feels good to me. The more it feels good to me. So being aware of when you are not behaving as a vibrational match with your vision is going to be really important. And that goes along with when you don't feel good enough and when you don't feel competent enough. When you start doing this, when you start feeling that way, it doesn't feel good to you. It does not feel good to you. And use that feeling as a sign, okay, to say, hold on a minute, something is not true here. And then you can start questioning what is required of me to feel competent? What is required of me to feel good enough, to recognize my worth? What is required of me is one of those questions that I always have my clients ask themselves. What is required of me is a beautiful question that you can ask yourself that will allow your mind to start thinking, okay, what do I need to do differently? What do I need to do right now that will get me into alignment with the vision I have for myself? Okay? So if you haven't heard that one by now, I want you to keep that in your notes as well. What is required of me? Because as soon as you ask that question, the brain starts to look for the answer. Okay? So we don't want to spend time asking ourselves the wrong questions. Like, why did, like blame, a question, why did they do this to me? Why didn't I get this promotion? Why did they not treat me with respect? These questions do not give you any positive answer, right? Those thoughts are not serving you. So the questions you're asking yourself, what is required of me to have peace with the situation? What is required of me to feel competent in this situation? What is required of me to feel respected? These are the questions you need to ask that allow your mind to start thinking the thoughts that are actually going to align you with your highest good. So if you have any questions about that or need any clarity, we're going to be able to do that. We're going to shut down this screen right now and move into the question and answer period, because I know that's how this platform works. So take a few minutes, take a sip of water, look over your notes, and let me know if you have any questions. The next 30 minutes are going to be dedicated to your questions. So I'll see you in the question and answer period. Okay? It's 23 seconds now. All right.